Dan Hannan came into the IEA to talk about his new book, and while he was here, ieaTV got a chance to ask him a few questions on his views on Europe and its economic future.
What do you think the principal economic benefits would be for the United Kingdom if we actually left the European Union?
I think the EU would be better off, Europe would be better off as a whole, scaling back the EU to be simply a trade bloc with intergovernmental collaboration. But of course that isn't my call. I'm not a Dutch or Greek or German legislator, I'm a British legislator. What is my call is what relation is Britain going to have with it? And I think there is no question that we would be better off raising our eyes across the oceans and rediscovering those more distant horizons that our fathers took for granted.
Do you think, Dan, that it would be best all round if the European Union itself was dissolved, not just Britain leaving it and no longer being a part of the European Union? Do you think the European Union itself should be wound up?
I would like to have a European architecture where you have free trade and intergovernmental collaboration, where countries agree to do jointly what they can't do singly, right? You'd have to be insane to be against that. I've never met a British Eurosceptic who is opposed to that. Does that require all the bureaucracy, all the economic direction, the common agricultural policy, the common fisheries policy, the foreign policy, the European arrest warrant? Of course not. Now, some countries may want to go ahead with those things, and that's a matter for their electorates and for their governments to work out as sovereign countries. What interests me is extending the European market. If Britain were to succeed in getting a kind of EEA-light deal, a free trade plus deal, associate membership, whatever you want to call it, my guess is that all of the other non-members would line up asking for something similar. So that you would have, in practice, two separate European structures. You'd have a pan-continental free trade area with 35, 40 member states stretching from Iceland and the Faroe Islands through to Turkey and Georgia. And then within that, you'd have a much smaller group of 20, 25 countries with their single currency, their single president, foreign ministry, and all the rest of it. Wouldn't that leave everybody happier? The Federalists would be able to go ahead without fear of a British veto. We would get the common market we thought we were getting 40 years ago. They would lose a bad tenant and gain a good neighbour.